Hi Stampers. Today I wanted to show you a technique using ultra thick clear embossing powder. It's called cracked ice. As you can see, this image looks like it's been cracked and it's antiqued, and I want to show you how to achieve that look. So first of all, you're going to start with your white cardstock. Go ahead and stamp it with whatever image you want. Go ahead and color it with whatever medium you like. I did this with black memento ink and Copic markers, but water-based markers will work, the Prismacolors will work, whatever you want to use is fine. So go ahead and color your image, and then you're going to use Versamark and super thick clear embossing powder. So you're going to start with your Versamark, and you're going to take your image and just pat it down in the Versamark so you get your whole cardstock covered well with the Versamark. And then we're going to cover it with the super thick embossing powder. Okay. And again, I'm using my coffee filter to collect my excess in. And then we're going to heat that. And you want to make sure you hold it with a pair of scissors or something so it doesn't blow away. But you're going to hold it about an inch away, wait for the embossing powder to start changing or melting, and then you're going to move it around the image to melt your embossing powder. Now this embossing powder is a little bit chunky, so you might see stray pieces flying off, but that's okay. Okay, and on your first coverage, sometimes you don't get a real good coverage around your edges or whatnot, so we're going to do it a second time because you want a real good thick layer of embossing powder on there. So wait for this to cool, give it a few minutes. So it's cool enough where you can stick it back in your Versamark. Again, coat it well with your Versamark. And we're going to cover it again with the embossing powder. Running low on embossing powder, but I think I have enough for this. Yeah, I do. Okay, so then we're going to heat that again, and you're going to get a thick coating of clear embossing powder. And as this one melts, you can see that it's a thick layer on there, and sometimes you can push the embossing powder to an area that is a little bit lighter just by moving your heat gun. If you move the heat source, sometimes you can push the embossing powder closer to the edges if you have some gaps. Okay, so that's all you're going to do for the embossing. And then you're going to go ahead and let that cool. And then what you're going to do, so you can see that it's a really, I don't know if the camera's catching it, but it is a thick layer of embossing powder, and it's very shiny. So what you're going to do is take this and you're going to put it in the freezer. Let me go get my other one that's in the freezer. And then when you take it out of the freezer, you're just going to crack it. And the embossing powder was going to crack. Okay? And if you don't get enough cracks in it, you can put it back in the freezer and crack it a little bit more. Like I didn't get any cracks up here in this section, but I got a good shatter down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this. But you want to put it in the freezer for about 3 to 5 minutes so that embossing powder gets really good and cold. And then what you're going to do is use a distress ink to give it that antique-y look. and a sponge dauber, and I just picked up the ink with the dauber and just kind of smeared around so that it gets down in the cracks. Some of it will seep deeper if it's a bigger crack, and that's okay, because that's just going to give it more of an antique-y look. But just work it around so it's in those cracks really good, so it looks antique-y. And then you're going to use a napkin and just polish the embossing powder, wipe the ink off, polish it, and see how the ink stayed in the cracks to give it that antique-y look. And that's all there is to it. Now you've got your panel to use on your card. Here's the card that I made. This is with the wild rose, but I did the same technique, the super thick clear embossing powder. 2 layers of it, and then put it in the freezer for about 3 to 5 minutes and crack it. And then the sponge dauber and the distress ink to cover the cracks. Hope you enjoy this technique, and I will see you again with another great embossing technique. Bye-bye.